In this regard, research will be actively supported by the state, with tax incentives provided to industries that use local research to innovate and build industries. Let me say it very clearly. We will put Ghanaians at the center of opportunity in Ghana. It's Ghanaians who own this land. If there is anything that should go to profit anybody, it must go to profit Ghanaians. And so, a CPP administration led by me will put Ghanaians at the center of opportunity in both the private and public sectors in Ghana, because it is the job of government to prepare its people and give them the necessary opportunities to overcome inexperience, inadequate capital, and lack of opportunity as we have it today. So we will design and implement a consistent and aggressive policy to build industries owned by Ghanaians throughout the country. And this is because no nation anywhere has really developed and prospered significantly on the backs of exporting raw materials to feed factories abroad. Domestic industries that export products and provide for what we need here in Ghana are what we need to break out of poverty, because they provide sustainable jobs and living wages and salaries. And besides, this is what the CPP did in the 1960s. Factories all over Ghana, not just in one corner, in the north, in the south, in the east, in the west. When I was going to secondary school, in my chalks was corned beef made in Ghana, in Zolta corned beef. This is what was done in the 1960s. This is what Ejumura, the CPP, will come and do once again. And let's reform the state. We have heard consistently over the past 2 decades, the government or the state can't do it alone, from speakers at various events and from governments. Quite curiously, some of these speakers say this while talking about roads, schools, and social services. And it is the kind of mentality that leads to the false expectation that someone from the private sector will do for the many what the state must do for its citizens. And it makes the task of making government more efficient in revenue collection and more effective in service delivery, takes it less seriously. After 51 years of independence, it is time that the Ghanaian state, not a foreign donor, not the private individual, accepts its rightful responsibility to deal effectively with our collective interests through strengthened public service institutions. And so I believe that as a people, we must all dedicate ourselves to matters social, to build a sound foundation for a just and caring society for all Ghanaians. And a just society is one that provides opportunity for every boy and girl to realize his or her human potential. A just society is one that gives hope to all that tomorrow will be a better one than today. And it is for this and other reasons that an important principle of the Convention People's Party is social justice. And let's also say very clearly that an important part of my agenda for change, and let me say this is the candidate for change. Others are talking about continuity. I am talking about change. And let me tell you some of the things that I want to change, because I have a legislative agenda. And my legislative agenda is intended to strengthen local government and parliament. I will sponsor legislation to remove the provision in the Constitution that allows ministers of state to also serve as members of parliament. Parliament must be seen as an important end in itself and not a stepping stone to join the executive. I am a member of parliament. There are many people who enter parliament not to become legislators, because they go there hoping that they will catch the eye of the president to make them a minister of state. I will ensure that parliamentarians get the necessary office facilities, research and administrative support, and all the resources to enable the legislature to play its important checks and balance role vis-a-vis the presidency. I'm a member of parliament, as I said. If you want to come and talk to me in parliament, we will stand in the hallway. I don't have an office. I don't have a secretary. I don't have any assistance for research. But the executive does. The executive is not more important than the legislature. That is why I will sponsor legislation for change. And I will also make sure to sponsor legislation to amend the Constitution to make it necessary for all and every assembly member and district, municipal, and metropolitan chief executives to be elected. If the Ghanaian people are smart enough to cast a vote to elect a president, if they are smart enough to cast a vote to elect their parliamentarian, definitely they are smart enough to cast a vote to elect the person that lives with them, that is supposed to lead them to development. This is how we will get greater accountability in local government. Look around you, garbage, filth. Look around you, indiscipline. Who will change it? The person who is supposed to change it is not accountable to the people who live there. It's accountable to someone sitting in Accra. Go around the world. All the major cities in the world, they have mayors, and the mayors are accountable to their people because they elect them. So if you go to London and it snows and no one removes the snow, you go to New York and it snows, no one removes the snow, you go to Milwaukee or to Washington and there's filth and garbage all over the place, I guarantee you, the mayor, when it gets to the next election, will not get re-elected. They listen to the people. We must make sure that those chief executives, they listen to the people. That's accountability. I want to remove the power from the presidency, the office that I seek, and give it back to the people. Corruption. Corruption. We must admit that there is corruption in our society, in the private sector, in the public sector. It is there. It is there. And I want to be the leader that encourages every Ghanaian to play a role in removing corruption from our society. And that is why I will make ending administrative corruption an important priority. That we don't just continue to talk about it, but we do something about it. And one thing I want to do is to make the Office of Attorney General an independent prosecutors organization separate from the Ministry of Justice to make it effective in fighting corruption at all levels. And if we talk about Freedom of Information Act, if it isn't passed, when I get there, it will be passed very promptly because the people deserve information. The people deserve to know that if someone does wrong, it will not be because they belong to a certain political party that they go free, or that someone does something very small because they belong to a different political party that the state descends on them heavily to punish them. Now let's talk about energy. My party's vision is to provide leadership with a sense of urgency to deliver abundant energy resources to enable the acceleration of industrialization and modernization of our communities. And I keep saying that we know what needs to be done. It is not that anybody is going to bring anything new. The energy plans have been there, from the NDC to the MPP. It's a matter of implementation. And what is the difference here? It's a leadership that will implement what needs to be done today and not wait till tomorrow. And our party has a track record. It is the only one planned to bring significant energy resources and in its tenure completed it. There's no equal. So we're talking about what we have demonstrated, not just what we talk about, not just what is on a piece of paper. And let me tell you, as energy is an ingredient that is essential for development, it will receive the highest level of attention from the presidency. And in the area of oil and gas, we want to ensure that there's effective participation. And I mean, when I say participation, ownership of Ghanaians in all areas, both upstream and downstream, because we want Ghanaians to share in ownership so that profits can remain in this country. And I want to be very clear. When I'm your president, if there's a natural resource anywhere, and Ghanaians can't share in the ownership, it will remain on the ground. Go and look at Johannesburg. It's a gold town. It's a big city, modern city. Now look at Obuasi, go to Akwatia, go to Prestia. Is that what we want? Absolutely not. And so I want the communities closest to the oil and gas production to be redeveloped using modern planning methods and global standards to ensure that they benefit directly from their proximity, to enable them to protect the oil and gas assets and be a testimony to the drive for prosperity and healthy communities. We don't want to repeat the Niger Delta experience here in Ghana. And what is left? We want the revenue accruing, what is left to the state, to be discussed, the formula to be discussed widely and passed into law by Parliament, so that no president can come and do with the resources as he or she wants, based on the party's ideology or their own personal needs. What I want to say is that government will develop further the atomic energy capabilities for peaceful and economic purposes as an essential factor in national development. And now let's talk about food and nutritional security, because it is important that we recognize the fact that all over the world, governments are taking bold steps to protect food stocks by restricting the amount of food items that can be exported. We should recognize the fact that governments all around the globe are not just standing by to watch the markets do as they please in the interest of the private sector operators alone. They are intervening on behalf of their people. And so, what we're saying, let me give you a quotation, and you tell me which era this belongs. And I'm quoting. Ghana's food imports during the last 8 years have risen enormously. Much of our hard-earned foreign currency is being spent on food from abroad. It is therefore a measure of one of the tasks facing agriculture during this period of economic development, the need to feed Ghana as far as possible from our own resources, unquote. This sounds like something from 2008, but it isn't. This was taken from the 7-year development plan that was published in December 1963. Did we go or did we come? I am saying that a CPP administration led by me will engage in energetic, sustained, and well-organized efforts over the next 4 years to produce enough to meet our food and nutritional requirements. And let me say what we will implement. We will ensure that the state intervenes in food production to promote increased investment, research, and application of results, storage and distribution, including strategic stock management. And that is one reason why we want to retain the Agricultural Development Bank as a Ghanaian-owned financial institution, but restructured to ensure that it goes back to the original mission of financing agricultural modernization, production and processing of raw materials, particularly food, for domestic consumption. And we will support the CSIR and the universities to bring research to practical use by investing and providing modern research tools, equipment and facilities, and then providing tax incentives to the private sector for the use of research output to encourage innovation and food production. And oh yes, we'll redesign the Workers' Brigade and bring them back. And yes, we'll restructure the Food Distribution Agency. Let me say to you, you go everywhere in Ghana, go to Nasia. Nasia, they are growing rice. Aveime, Afife, Dawenya. Go to Biposu near Komenda. And just 2 days ago, I was in NDUOM, near Kumasi. That's rice. Beautiful, wonderful rice. No one is buying it. And we're importing rice from Thailand, from India, from America. And we have rice. That is why I tell you, I become your next president. No state institution will be allowed to buy any food item we can grow in this country that comes from abroad. You come to a state function under my presidency, what touches your lips, whether it's food or beverage, will be produced in Ghana. We need to encourage our own. That is how we will create jobs That is how a Yumura will make sure that a young man gets a job, that a young woman will get a job. And let's say it is the CPP that said, and is still saying, Africa must unite. And on the occasion of the 40th independence anniversary, the late President Julius Nyerere of Tanzania, in a speech said that without unity, there is no future for Africa. And he said, and I quote him, Kwame Nkrumah was Ghana's leader, but he was our leader too. For he was an African leader. He was a visionary. He thought big, but he thought big for Ghana and its people and for Africa and its people. He had a dream for Africa and its people. What I'm saying to you today is that the vision Kwame Nkrumah had for Africa unity today means partnership for progress through shared knowledge with full respect for our differences. My party believes in Pan-Africanism. I will lead Ghana back to the front of creating a continental union with the promise of a better market, security, and a good life for all Africans. And let's talk about our people abroad, because there are many, many, many Ghanaians abroad. And all that we're saying to Ghanaians abroad is they should encourage those of us here at home to stay the course of constitution-based multi-party democracy and strengthen governance in our public institutions. But what I will do for them is to establish a homecoming secretariat staffed with competent Ghanaians who have lived abroad and those with good experience at home. The secretariat will be a resource center to assist Ghanaians abroad with access to healthcare, real estate, business and investment opportunities, and support them in ways to make their transition back home to work, invest, retire, and simply enjoy their holidays. There are many, many, many of us here, lived abroad, we've come home. We want many more to come home as well. And I want to tell you, there's a difference between presidential candidates. Kwame Nkrumah will not be on the ballot in December. J.J. Rawlings will not be on the ballot. J.A. Kufuor, he will not be there. Someone says, Kufuor ya into Tuabamam. Debida. Rawlings ayadi Tuabamam. Debida. Kwame Nkrumah oyadi. Those who want to talk about the past, we will talk about the past. But let's be clear. It is a human being who sits there as the president. We must examine us as individuals, what we have done in our private lives. Is our home life good? Is it peaceful? What did we do, those of us who were in government, to make life good for Ghanaians? So I want to tell you, I represent real change. And everywhere I have been in Ghana, people have been telling me, and I'm getting to the end of my presentation, let me tell you the issues that have been presented to me throughout the country. Our people are concerned about unemployment, about corruption in our society. They are talking about the need for government to be seen, to be caring. They are concerned about the shortage of water, an unclean and unhealthy environment. And as people put it, we talk about change in the economy, and they are simply saying, we don't feel it in our pockets. The people in the northern region, they are wondering, the northern part of Ghana, they are wondering if they are part of this country. You travel from Wenchi to Wa, travel every budget from many, many years. They talk about the road, and the road is still today not done. And the portions that have been done, there are potholes in them. Travel from Wa to Bolga, a distance of less than 270 kilometers. It will take you more than 5 hours. And we voted 4 times. 4 times. Travel from Yendi to Salga. Go to the north. The animals drink from one side, the human beings drink from the other. We need change. We need change. That's what our people are worried about. And finally, let me tell you, the CPP can and will win in 2008. How are we going to do this? We're getting new people, young people, all over the country. We have an army of older people. It's almost like you spread some seed somewhere and you forgot about it. All we're doing is we're going around with water. We're watering the seeds, and it's sprouting, it is growing. It's going all over the place. And I'm telling you, our message is simple. Ejumora. Ejumora. When we talk about Ejumora, all that people say back to us is, yes, it's him. And so, ladies and gentlemen, what will make a difference in Ghana and move us into the ranks of well-performing countries is a great sense of urgency and a leadership obsessed with getting positive results quickly. We know the problems that confront us as a people. We know what we should do to grow our economy and develop the country. We need a leader who will focus on solving our problems and implement ideas to free our people from poverty now. And I believe that I am that leader. God bless our homeland, Ghana, where collectively we will build a country of free and prosperous people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Akusino. And now it's time for your questions. A flower of many petals. I'll just take one of them. Education. We're eloquent in the things that we've promised. Vast investments in education. What is your estimate of what this will cost, if you like, in the first year or in 2 years? And how would you pay for it?
I'm happy you asked the question about education, because we've done some estimates. Even though you haven't asked the question in energy, I believe that we need $3 billion to solve the energy difficulty. In the area of education, what we're talking about is an investment over the next 8 years of about $3 billion. Now, let me tell you about the $3 billion. As I've already said to you, education, building standardized schools in every community in Ghana, but also science and education, and not stopping there. Vocational, technical education. How are we going to fund it? You know, I've been in government, and it's an important thing that I have found, that Ghana does not lack for money. Money is not the problem. In January 2001, when we said that there wasn't a lot of money in the system, if you went to the Ministry of Finance and checked the books, you would see that we had a lot of money sitting there on the books. Project monies that were left because no one was implementing them. Projects